All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Let's get started this morning. Hey, today we're going to have a little sales conversation. And this sales conversation is about the reason they say no is because they don't know. Now, the NO that they say no to is because they don't KNO. KNOW. I'll spell it right. They don't know. So in order for you to get them to know KNOW, they have to say no. So this idea of saying, hey, listen, go for no, most people don't understand what they're really going for. So we're going to have a conversation about that this morning. My conversation with you this morning is the reason somebody doesn't do business with you is because they don't know you. And in order for them to know KNOW, you, they have to NO some other things they think about you. No fewer than 105 decisions are made in the first 5 seconds we meet somebody. So in the first 5 seconds of you meeting somebody, what do you transmit? Do you transmit confidence? Do you transmit intelligence? Do you transmit safety? Do you transmit leadership? See, when you understand that all of this comes down to the ability you have to show yourself off. So the next person you're about to go meet, what are they going to say in the first 5 seconds they meet you? How's your smile? What's the energy, right? So Greg Braden, who was one of the first people to influence me in the world of personal undevelopment, in the world of awareness, and in that presentation, he talked about energy. And now he's talking about something. He has this new TV platform that he's talking about, that he's saying the first thing, the introductory video is saying things like, people tell me it's the thoughts they have that change the way they look, that change their things. They could have a bad thought and the bad thought happens. They could have a good thought and a good thought happens. It's not the thought. It is the frequency behind the thought. This is what Wallace D. Wattles, I believe Wallace D. Wattles meant when he said it's not about doing certain things, it's about doing them in a certain way. It's why one hair salon stays in business and another hair salon starts in business and goes out of business. Why one restaurant goes into business and stays in business and another restaurant in the same town and the same thing goes out of business. It's not so much competition as it is the way they show up in their workplace. So, what's the sales behind this, Sean? Do you understand your client? Do you understand what they're looking for? If I walk into a hardware store, if somebody blindfolds me and walks me into a hardware store and takes the blindfold off, and I was hoping I was going to a steakhouse, I'd be disappointed, even if it was the world class, if it was the world's best hardware store. So what we have to do as salespeople, and if you don't think you're a salespeople, you should leave now. Because Zig Ziglar said it best, sales is the transference of enthusiasm. Now, you can be too overly excited for a prospect, right? How many of you have know some nieces or nephews that are just way too rampant, way too energetic, so much so that they wind up giving them drugs to settle them down, cool their jets? Well, we don't have that for adults. I guess we do. Maybe it's something else that they talk about. But here's the point. If you're going to go have a business meeting with a banker, or you're going to go have a business meeting with a mom, do you dress differently? If you dress differently, and what I mean by that is do you go into a banker with business attire? And if you're meeting a mom at a house rather than intimidator, you may dress business casual, but you will adjust your outward appearance. That's perfectly fine. The thing that we need to pay attention to is how often do we adjust our internal energies? How often do we adjust the way we show up vibrationally? When people ask me, Sean, how are you? I say, I'm outstanding. And it's true. Everybody knows if you've asked me that more than twice, you're going to know there's a darn good chance I'm going to show up outstanding. So, what is your vibration? Sales, Zig Ziglar said, sales is a transference of enthusiasm. Wallace D. Waddle says it's not about doing certain things, it's about doing things in a certain way. Joe Dispenza says your internal environment can express into your outward personality. Your inward personality can turn out your outward personal reality. Or your outward personality, your outward environment can turn on what's on your inside environment. Do you let outside affect you, or do you show up with so much energy, so much power that you can bring positive energy to the outside world? All of this to say, in the world of professional sales, if you want to attract high caliber people, do you act as a high caliber person? Nobody knows my bank account. They have a lot of assumptions about my bank account. I've never told anybody my bank account or how much money I've made. People have makes a lot of assumptions about my income and my levels and where I'm at. And it's because of the attitude that I carry, the way that I show up. So how are you showing up? What would people say about you if they invited you to a call right now? Could they predict who you are? What would people call you for to be an expert on? That's the question you've got to ask yourself. What would people call you for to be an expert on? Hey, listen, I've got this friend. I want to introduce you to my friend. They know, fill in the blank. What would they call you for? Are they calling you for it? If you want to become the expert in your field, then you should understand what it is about your field that you need to go become an expert in. Did you read 10 pages of a good book about your field last night? Do you know who your competition is? Do you understand why people use your competition? I was often brought into sales. I was often brought into corporations. I was brought into the largest oil refinery in the Northern Hemisphere, in St. Croix of all places. And I was sat down in front of about 23 engineers, and they asked me, why are we using this product? Now, I was selling the competitive product, but they asked, why are they using their competitor? And I told them flat out why they're using their competitor, what the benefits were, where the shortcomings were, what the pricing was. And they said, why should we use yours? It's 3 times the price. I said, I don't know why you would use mine, other than if you wanted to increase your turnaround speed, increase your assembly speed, increase all of this stuff. And what happened is that I got almost $1 million order simply because I knew my competition and I spoke well of them. Who is your competition that you do not understand? If you're in the personal development business, it's other personal development coaches and mentors. It's the internet. It's Google. If you're in wellness, it's the pharmacy at Walmart. That's who your competition is. It's the 3 aisles of nutritionals and nootropics and brain stuff and aspirins and pills and bottles of content that's sitting in Walmart that's cheap. Do you understand why people aren't quite sure why they need to buy from you? First of all, if they find if they're comparing the price of your products to other products, you're not providing the value. Let's be very clear. Number one rule in sales is they buy people, they don't buy products. Do people want to hang around you? What are you offering them that they can't buy off of an inventory list? What is it that they get from you that they can't get from anybody else? What's the value add you bring? Jim Rohn said you want to become valuable, you want to become rich, become valuable to valuable people. What is the value you provide somebody that's above and beyond the compensation plan? That's above and beyond the product? Do they like doing business with you because they like you? Do they understand you? What do you know about? See, one of the things I find fascinating about this profession is that somebody will bring me in and they'll say, hey, listen, I would like you to really help me grow my business. And I say, great. And this is corporations. This is the corporate side of it. I said, let me speak to 5 of your top 10 distributors. And we'll spend an hour together, and I'll spend 5 hours. Sometimes they're so busy, I'll spend 20 minutes with them. And in 20 minutes, they've been with the company a dozen years. And in 20 minutes, I'll find out a handful of things about that individual that the corporate team doesn't even have a clue about. Why do I say that? We are playing so shallow with our business partners. It's ridiculous. It's really kind of crazy. For some reason, we're afraid to create a relationship with the people that we work with the people who are consuming our products. You want to become a world-class professional in network marketing? Start to know your people. Start to have people brag about you. When they brag about you, what do they brag about? How long can they brag about you? How long can they tell a story about you? Who's your sponsor? Oh, my sponsor is Sean Murphy, blah, 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 blah. And they can go on and they still send me texts today. A lot of them are in different companies now, because companies will sometimes change the way they do things, change their philosophy. And I still get texts every day. I use your methods every day. So my question to you is, do you want to become a professional? What is the value you give beyond your company? See, this is me. Don't know that it works for anybody. This is me. When I go to have a conversation with somebody, I'm the one providing the value, not my company's comp plan, not my company's product. Many times, oftentimes, the majority of times, they don't know the company. Well, you're supposed they need to know what it is, so it's not a surprise. No, I speak to the value of the business model, so they understand it doesn't matter the name on the side of the building, because none of us are ever going to see the building. We really aren't. We all go to Walmart, but Walmart manufactures very little. They have stuff branded for them called Great Value, but they're not the manufacturer. They've white labeled a product that they call Great Value, and they put it on their shelves. They still carry all the other ones, all the other name brands. So they are a resource center. They are one of the largest, if not the largest. I think Amazon passed them. But they're the largest retail store in the world. And they don't make a thing. They provide a place, a very large place, for people to be able to go and find their solutions at an economical price. Now, they're not always the cheapest. They're usually the cheapest. They're not always the cheapest. Their product isn't always the best. Sometimes it's the best. But it's not always. It is the average place. It's not the Nordstroms. So why do people flock to there? One, for convenience. So are you convenient to do business with? Two, the price. My daddy said nothing is overpriced, it's undervalued. And that has been a flagship idea that I've had ever since I started in the profession of network marketing 23 years ago. This August will be 24 years ago. Nothing is overpriced. It's undervalued. And if you want to build teams, if you want to be an attractor to leaders, there's a price that they have to pay to do business with you. And that's the price of the story they get to tell their teams.
Sean, my hair, I'm twisting it. I'm sorry. I noticed it just now. I'm twisting my hair. I'm sorry.
Well, that's your problem, not mine. So I don't really care whether you twist your hair or not. That's up to you. So the point is that what is the story? How valuable is the story people have to spend with you? What is the price they will pay to tell your story? See, when I did happen to build an organization fairly quickly in Latin America, 30,000 people in about 8 months, 1,000 people in the first 90 days. It wasn't me. Listen, I'll be the first one to tell you, it was not me. But I was the story they told. They had all of their contacts, they had all of their leaders, and I enrolled two guys, two amazing brothers who now own their own company. Pretty amazing story. Two brothers working back together again, which is how they started in the profession. They worked together with me and then kind of went on their ways, and now they're back together again. Somehow that usually is a great story. But I was the story they got to tell. Are you a story worth telling? Are you a story that people want to be able to brag about? If they went to go Google you on the internet, what would they find about you? Are you with one company forever? That's a legacy story. Do they know? Could they find out how many years you've been with your company? What's the extra value you add that's outside of your company that they can get by being a part of you? That's the reason people struggle in this profession, is they become very myopic, and they become the newspaper for their company, rather than they're the brand that is using this vehicle. Does that make sense? If you become the brand, the person, the individual of why it makes sense, well, Alexa, stop. If you become the person that's of value, that you are using this vehicle to arrive at your destination versus that company that you talk about is using you to be a mouthpiece for them, that's a whole nother story. That's a slight change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. That makes sense? I hope it does. So professional sales, become the person that provides tremendous value, not only about your company and of your company's products, but what are the ancillary parts around that? I deal with wellness professionals who own their own professional wellness business. First thing I'll ask them is what do you do with dogs? Like, what? Yeah, what do you do with pets? Are there any of the services you provide that are energetically available for people to get their pets healthy? Yeah. How many pets did you take care of last month? None. That is a market people will pay a lot of money for. So part of it's not that you need more resources. You can add in a business practice, a volume of business can come into your bit work of your business, and you can begin to use your technology to take care of other things. So what do you do in network marketing? If people are looking to travel, are you giving them understandings of, are you becoming that little book? I forget what it's called, that you use when you want to go to Rome. You go buy this book in the bookstore about Rome and you learn all about Rome. Are you a resource for destinations? Are you somebody that explains how easy it is to go travel? Most people have never traveled outside the United States. Most people, the majority of people. So how do you use your systems to help people experience life at a whole new level? What's the value of standing in front of the piazza in Rome, and throwing pennies into the fountain? There's particular fountain in Rome that is just, it's world renowned. I don't remember the name of it. I've stood in front of it. How about the bridge between, where you can see the bridge, where the Crying Bridge, I think it's called, in Venice? What does it feel like to stand there on that arched bridge as you look at that bridge where the Crying Bridge, where they carry him from here and they were going to execute him on the other side? Have you ever had a sandwich, a panini in the Rome airport? If I went there today, if I was on a trip to Rome today, I would make sure I land when the airport is open. I've landed in many airports where everything is closed in the airport. I would make it a priority to land in the morning, right? Because usually you overnight over to Rome, over to Italy. I mean, to the EU. And I would land in Rome, because you usually go to Frankfurt and then to Rome. I would land there and I would make sure I get into Rome so I could have an espresso and a panini, a prosciutto panini. In the airport. One of the greatest experiences of my life. But that's a different story. So if you want to become valuable to valuable people in this profession of sales, learn how to become more valuable than your competition. That's all. Are you selling on price? Are you selling on pride? Or are you selling on story? Hey, Jamison. That's my question for you. So that's my conversation to be a professional in the world of sales. How do you add value? If somebody was to go Google you right now, what would they find? See, I've been blessed for 7 years, coming up on 7 years, 6 years for sure. I've been doing a morning show all over YouTube, and I've done little stuff on TikTok. Now that is back. Instagram, I've done lives. There's hundreds of hours of people to go Google me. What do they find out about you? What would they find out about you? If you Googled you, what would you find out? What's the thing people are bragging on you that's not your business? That's what you got to ask yourself. In this world of competition, of digital competition, how do you stand out in the digital world? And that's based upon the resources you provide, the things you have to share, the stories you tell. There's a phrase you may want to write down. Proximity is power. Write that down. Proximity is power. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do people want to hang around you? And if they do, why? You get those questions answered and you figure out how to get people to want to circle around you, your business will change forever. I love you tons. I'm your head brain training, brain scrambling misfit. I'm going to go have a conversation with my inner circle. If you'd like to join me in those open Q&As, you can go to unlearnme.live, unlearnme.live, and set up your no-fee account. There's tremendous amount of content available there. I'll see y'all where? At the next event. Till then.